guys, so hopefully this is going to be a short video. Well, if you know about my videos, they almost never are. But I just feel like this is an important topic. So recently I was made aware of this doxing phenomenon on the internet, and I was informed of the doxing done by Atheism-Is-Unstoppable and his followers, I guess, from Kraut and Tea's video. He made two very passionate videos about it, and I mostly agree with him. But the discussion has been gotten kind of out of hand because there are people who really agree with Devon Tracy, Atheism-Is-Unstoppable's actions, and there are people who really criticize it. And I just want to address some of the arguments made for doxing and why I personally don't support doxing of any kind when we are talking about at least making videos on the internet or commenting on the internet or commenting to a video and things of that nature. Basically, things that deals with free speech. So the reason why I would say, for example, any kind of revealing private information, whether it's name or a city location where the person is, whether any of those things would be considered doxing, is one, well, I mean, there's a definition. The definition is not completely clear what is including and what is not including, but your name and your the city where you live in, they are private information, and they can help a person narrow down who you are and where you're from, right? And this is especially true if you have a name that's more unique. Since I'm Chinese, my name would be one of those names that's more unique, and you can actually find me relatively easier than if you were to find somebody whose name is John Smith, for example, right? So then, for some people, if their name is something very common, John Smith, I don't know, Brandon Lee, I'm just making these names up, but there are a lot of people with that name. So then generally, if you just reveal that name, more likely than not, it's not going to happen, anything's not going to happen to that person. But it could, right? But there's a risk. So you're just kind of hiring the risk of that person being found out where the person lives, who the person is, and all that stuff. Since I'm kind of in the field of science, when we collect subjects, their information, all the private information, they are classified. And in fact, you are supposed to destroy all of their private information after you collect the data, unless the name is absolutely needed somehow, but generally speaking it's not. Like, for example, in my institution, even if you're trying to run participants in like a classroom setting, where if you don't record down the person's name, is extremely difficult to identify the person for a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into it, but it's extremely difficult. And we had an entire meeting about how to identify the person without the name, or how to code the name in such a way that people will know who they are. I mean, it's really complicated and it's really gruesome. But this is how it is. So that's why the argument that your name is not doxing is just plain wrong. I mean, it goes against the idea of anonymity, and it goes against the idea of what is considered private information. Your name is a private information. It is considered private information in fields such as human participants collecting subjects for any kind of thing, medical, behavioral, you name it. Now, the arguments made for revealing people's name from the AIU side has been, it's a kind of an honor kind of a thing that if you make an accusation, the person deserves to know your accuser. And they're saying this is a Western value. It's actually not exclusively Western. I mean, every culture has it. And the way to address that is for every single principle, we as skeptics has to question it, right? So just give an extreme example. For the longest time, pretty much everywhere in the world, if you kill somebody, then you have to be killed. I mean, in Chinese, when I was little, I was taught that killing somebody means that you have to pay with your life, right? And it wasn't until I really became like a skeptic did I really question this. There's a principle, and then you question, well, what does it actually do? So in the case of somebody killing somebody, right, should that person be paying with his life? Well, then you think about it, and you can think of that there are many situations where the person could have killed the other person. It could go from very malicious intent all the way to a complete accident, right? Somebody accidentally threw a frisbee. And in that case, it would be considered involuntary manslaughter, right? I mean, you would be arrested. The last time I checked, involuntary manslaughter is like maximum of 2 to 4 year prison. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the last time I remember that's the penalty that you would get. So definitely you don't get the death penalty even in the US when there's still death penalty. And then you could be a voluntary manslaughter where you got just really passionate and you punched somebody on the face and then somebody fell over and hit his head or her head on like a pavement or something and died. That would be something kind of like voluntary manslaughter, and then you get a heavier sentence. But generally speaking, you don't get a death penalty as the current law. But it used to be that in both cases, you get a death penalty unless you're somebody who's powerful. Like if you're like a prince or some sort of lord, or if you're a lady and women have special treatment also, then you can get away with it. But as a common citizen to another common citizen, people basically say that you have to die. So that's when we have to start to be skeptical and criticize what the law does and whether this law is justified. So to go back to the you should be able to name your accuser kind of a thing. This was in a context where it used to be that what it means to accuse somebody is something extremely serious, like you accuse somebody of being a rapist, or you accuse somebody of being, I don't know, a thief or something. Basically, things that could really ostracize you from your community. It would bring shame upon your entire family because even just 100 years ago, we all lived in pretty much an extreme honor society, much more so than we do now. Like now, people are more relaxed about stuff. I mean, the idea of being honorable is not so clear-cut what it means anymore. There are certain rules in certain areas, but by and large, you could just basically go freakishly crazy and have some really weird habits, and generally speaking, in the West, it's okay. Now, when somebody accuses you of something this serious, like being a rapist or something of that nature, you have to be able to. It's very serious, right? So you have to be able to defend yourself in a court of law, and that also means in public because the court many times is open. So you sue that person for defamation. And in that case, it's just very difficult to do all of that in terms of legal procedure without knowing the person's name. It's also very difficult during that time since we don't have internet, and it's very difficult to keep your anonymity because nowadays, somebody from across the globe, somebody from a very remote area on the face of the earth can make something on the internet accessible to everybody without giving his or her name. But back then we don't have the internet, we don't have computers, we're not so connected. The person accusing you would be somebody from your community, generally speaking. and then that person generally stays in the community. And you being exiled from that community is something extremely serious. So it's really not like nowadays. It's, it's very annoying, but if you got banned from a forum somewhere, it's not a huge deal. I mean, you can go on with your life, you can make your opinion elsewhere. So the context is different. Context is different. The idea is that it's free speech, and the internet really is the place where people should have free speech, because when you're in school, when you're in office, when you're in some sort of institution or even in public, there are things that you cannot say, or if you do say, or if there's no rule that you cannot say it, it's generally deemed as uncivilized. But on the internet, supposedly, why a lot of people go onto the internet is not just to disseminate his or her opinion about something, however controversial that is. It's also to vent, when you cannot vent anywhere else. For example, like in a lot of places we cannot swear. I was at the airport once. I was just talking with somebody on the phone, and I was like, this person's been an asshole to me, blah blah. Just like me, ranting about somebody. And this person comes over and just says to me that I'm being very disrespectful because this is a public place and there are minors. So he says that please show some respect because you're just like swearing all over the place. Okay. And this was like, it's not even like a quiet room or something, it's very noisy, but apparently that is an unwritten rule, like in a public place like that, don't swear. But on the internet, because you have the ability to ignore people, block people, just not read it, there's unwritten rules that people pretty much can say anything on the internet. So then, once again, this idea of making accusations as paralleling with in terms of accusations made in terms of defamation, it's just not comparable. They're not the same thing. So this is the first part I'm addressing, which is that the law that you should be able to you should be able to name your accuser. It's not comparable with what's going on the internet, right? And then this is also something that goes back to the SJW accusing everybody about harassing them on the internet. They disable the comments and all that stuff, and because they say that they're being harassed, and everybody was like, you could just ignore them, they're trolls, like the Rebecca Watson thing. But now I'm kind of confused why when AIU or one of his followers get this kind of treatment, they suddenly feel like it's okay to use some sort of harassment tactic, which is revealing people's name or any kind of information the person does not wish to reveal to the public. So then at this point, they would say things like, well, it's because those things are lies, whereas I guess Anita Sarkeesian, Rebecca Watson, they're true or something. And this is not the point. I'm not saying things are black and white, but some things you have to stick to a principle because it's a slippery slope. What it means by spreading lies. People who have called AIU racist might have really believed that he's racist, and that's how that person felt at the moment watching AIU's videos or listen to what he has to say. This is also why I actually even supported, the amazing atheist TJ when he was much younger, and he made those comments somewhere. I'm not sure where, but he was addressing this feminist, I believe, who was part of like the Tumblr club, And he said something like, you know, that nobody will rape you, like some really exaggerated thing that's been haunting him ever since that day. It's the number one thing that feminists use, because they have copied that pretty much everywhere. It's the number one thing that they use to basically accuse the amazing atheist of being a sexist or being a misogynist or something like that. And I read those and I'm just like, okay, they're exaggerated. But they, you know, it's, for me it's crude humor, and for me it's just really him venting out his anger and that kind of thing. It's not nice, but, you know, he shouldn't be penalized for it. I mean, you know, people should be able to say whatever they want on the internet. So this is why it is a free speech issue. The third thing that I wanted to mention is that I really do think the reason why AIU or any of his followers do this, it's kind of a harassment tactic. I mean, they like to say that it's because of honor or some principle and that kind of thing, but if you really think about it, you know, you think about what it actually does, it is really a harassment tactic. And here I wanted to just break it down step by step. I made this a comment on Kraut's first video about this, but I just wanted to reiterate here. Let's just think about this for a second. Let's just think what actually happens when somebody slanders you, like really slanders you, on the internet anonymously. So the following thing could happen. Number one, I'm just gonna use he, okay, like pronoun issues. He could just be simply seen as a troll, so nothing would happen to you, you know, he just ignored, right? So if somebody calls AIU somebody racist or Nazi or KKK, whatever, on one of his comments or even a video, and this person is not very popular, or this person's a newbie, then whatever, and then the AIU's fans or AIU has the right to ignore that person, and if they ignore that person enough, that person would simply just be a troll, and that's it. The second thing that could happen, and this is so I'm going by least severe to the most severe. The second thing that could happen is that that person somehow gains some support. But then at this point, AIU or any of AIU's followers could just make a response to that person. They could make a video making fun of that person. You know, it's kind of like how Rebecca Watson made that video about, you know, the one that everybody, including Sargon, responded to, you know, and everybody got a good laugh about, she was saying like, you know, how, you know, you don't know what it's like to be a woman on internet. Everybody sort of just like made fun of that. And so this person just got a lot of exposure, but in the end, this person is sort of like the like of his video is probably like so much fewer than dislikes. And then that person eventually, after being made fun of, would then just become irrelevant. Just like Rebecca Watson's not really any more relevant on the internet. Nobody cares anymore. Now, if the person gains enough support, and AIU's followers, AIU and his followers also gain a lot of support, so let's say it's almost half and half, then still nothing would happen, right? Because, you know, basically there's like just like two clubs. They're just as popular, and it's a free market. Now, let's just say that this person who slanders you is somehow extremely popular, and he's like a cult leader, and anything that he says is just taken at face value as is just correct. Then this person has the potential to drive you out of the forum, let's say out of YouTube, because he's just so popular and powerful, right? Okay, but then what you could do is you could just go find another platform, right? I mean, there's so many. You don't have to stay on YouTube. So still, nothing really happened to you. Now, I'm going to go to the most severe case. Somebody slanders you outside of the internet about what you did online. which is the case that happened to me, then that could get very serious, especially if the person is very powerful. So then in that case, though, you can do the following thing. One is that if it's so serious, let's say it's affecting your job, it's affecting your relationship with people, something just really, really serious, like the person went around and basically said that you raped somebody, then you could legally file a defamation charge at the person. So then in that case, because of legal procedures, the person's name would have to be revealed, right? Now, theoretically speaking, like I've mentioned, the person's name doesn't have to be revealed for you to make your case against the accuser. But generally speaking, that won't work because if you're talking about going to court, the person will have to be present. Then, even if the person doesn't reveal his or her name, his name will eventually be revealed because everybody will be able to see who this person is. And also, this person isn't going to go to like a court that's like in some faraway place where nobody knows anybody. Most likely, this court would happen within your area. So then, basically, somebody would know. This is where the honor system comes in, which is that instead of happening like that, like your name would be revealed anyways, it's better to come from your own mouth. Okay, it's better that you say your name instead of somebody else calling out your name. So that's the shame kind of thing. Now, if you really think about it, why that is, it's not certain, but if you're talking about the honor system, if you're talking about you being a coward or something like that, you don't want to make yourself look bad, that's generally how it goes down. The second thing is, this person could also settle with you outside of court. Then you get your compensation. You can go around telling other people about what this person did to you. But again, only the people who believe you will believe you, right? And the people who don't believe will not believe you. So this could work in various degrees of harm to your accuser. It depends on, again, who you are, where you are, how many people follow you, how many people, would be on your same wavelength, that kind of thing. Now, if this person, however, is extremely powerful, he has a lot of power over you. Let's say he's a friend of your employer's. This person is really powerful. He would not mind revealing his name because he knows that you're not going to be able to do anything to him. But let's say that he didn't for some reason and you revealed this person's name, it's going to escalate more damage to you because this person has a lot of power, which means that this person has a lot of power to do additional damage to you. For example, buddy up with your employer, and then your employer could fire you, or if the employer cannot fire you, the employer can just give you the short ends of the stick all the time. So it's not going to be beneficial to you. So once again, that means that revealing the name of the person is only under the assumption that you believe, you're confident that you're powerful enough to be able to intimidate somebody. So there's really a power play. So this is why I say it is almost always, a harassment tactic. It's because you are you're exerting your own power to be able to intimidate the other person. So what I'm saying is that if Atheism-Is-Unstoppable is somebody who's not very popular, I bet if that were the case, I don't think Atheism-Is-Unstoppable will be willing to reveal his own name. This is just my conjecture. I could be wrong. And in fact, from what I've seen, when he first started making a video, he's using this kangaroo kind of a thing. Now, again, I could be wrong, but I feel like he's also keeping up his own anonymity. And it wasn't until he saw that he has so many followers, then he's more comfortable showing his face, he's more comfortable using his name. So this is my conjecture of what actually happens, because he feels like he has enough followers to have enough power to use the intimidation tactic on somebody who's relatively unknown on the internet. So again, like I said, if you dox somebody, it can work in various ways. Because it's an intimidation tactic. Some people are not so popular or doesn't have a lot of power, so they get intimidated easily. I'm not talking about intimidated easily as in your own personal feeling about things. I meant like it can affect that person's life by a lot. Whereas other people, if you're really, really popular, you have a lot of support, then you don't get intimidated as easily. Then you're more comfortable with this kind of thing. And it seems, this is just my impression, but it seems to me that the Atheism-Is-Unstoppable is somebody who's kind of privileged. So again, this is the impression I got. I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, but the way that he talks about his family, which is very interesting, I enjoy those videos. The way that he talks about his family, and it seems like, you know, they're all pretty famous, so he seems to have like this niche community around him where, you know, he's at his comfortable, you know, comfort zone. So all in all, from what I've seen about his defense and when I've seen his videos, it seems that he also just really enjoying it. He says that he loves doxing people, right? So, and he said it very gleefully. And some people suggested that he's being facetious, but, you know, his videos are not like The Amazing Atheist. They're not like Cult of Dusty. Those people generally make a lot of videos. I mean, not all of them, but they made a lot of videos just to be funny. So they exaggerate a lot, especially Dusty. I mean, like, a lot of people hate his videos because they think it's angry, but it's really, again, it's just a form of humor. He exaggerates stuff to make you laugh. Same with a lot of TJ's videos, but with Devon Tracy's videos, with the AIU videos, from what I've seen, it's pretty serious. I mean, he doesn't really make a lot of jokes. He's not like a joker, kind of a YouTuber. So then, with this context, I pretty much have to take him for what he says in face value. So then when he says something like, I love doxing people, like you will be doxed if you have a dislike button, that kind of thing, then I have to basically take him in terms of accountability. So, I think that's all it is. Oh, and I just want to mention one last thing, which is that in terms of doxing, the thing to really think about, this is in conclusion, the thing to really think about is what you're doing to your opponent and weighing that against what the opponent's doing to you. So it's about the damage. So how much damage you're exerting on your opponent should not be greater than how much damage your opponent is exerting to you. So if somebody accuses of rape, that's very serious, right? So your revealing a name is at least just as serious, but it could be less than somebody accusing you of being rape. But if somebody hits a dislike button on your video, that's nowhere near as what potentially could happen if your name was revealed on the internet. So yeah, it's about the consequences. And in general, since I tend to believe that the free speech means speech without consequences other than speech, I don't support this kind of behavior. So let me know what you think, and again, sorry about the long video. I will try to cut it, but I'll see you guys next time.